In this video, I want to discuss everyday wellness, and in particular, I want to discuss two concepts. Wellness, like planning our daily wellness, and wellness in general, how we go about getting wellness stimulation and activities, as well as also just coming up with a checklist and developing a way of tracking that wellness throughout either the day or the course of weeks or months, whatever your time frame is, and how you want to approach it. And when you get started with this, you might want to start small or sample a bunch of different approaches, but try to see what works for you ultimately, and stick with that, and then maybe expand from there. And the best way to doing this is start with one or two, start really small, and then to snowball that, to really grow it and to add various dimensions and components to that individual, get a bunch of individual processes going and aggregate them, build them up. So one way we can go about doing this is we can start our day with thinking of what we need to do and what we'd like to do and what our personal wellness goals are. That's one way of approaching it. But another way of approaching it is maybe one day you have the time, you sit down and just brainstorm a bunch of ideas, map them out, maybe schedule them, or think about days in the week where you could get particular activities done. Think about what you already do daily, and think about what you thought about that you would like to do daily, and what would you like to do within a week that are related to meaning, what you find meaningful, your values, as well as well-being, general universal well-being practices such as physical exercise, meditation, proper rest, proper nutrition, so getting 2 to 3 large meals a day that are relatively filling, at least about 80% filling, so not say having a granola bar and calling that lunch, unless you're having dinner and like a nice full meal for breakfast, like bacon and eggs and some toast, or oatmeal and a muffin or something like that with maybe an orange juice and some fruit. That would be a more of a full meal, and then you can have your granola bar for lunch and maybe a larger dinner too, with like steak and mashed potatoes with some legumes, various beans and whatnot. That would be proper nutrition. And these are more universal aspects of wellness, but you might enjoy them and you might already do them daily. And if you do, that's just an added positive. I know that like I tend to look for what I enjoy in the universals a lot too, and that makes it a lot easier to stick to those wellness habits, but also develop them and really enhance them and enrich the quality of them, which I think is very, very important to eudaimonic well-being, and because it relates to that subjective well-being that has a direct impact on more of the eudaimonic aspects of well-being, with less of the hedonistic aspects, but a healthy integration of the hedonistic elements that sometimes trickle in, that can sometimes trick us into thinking that we're developing more of these meaningful processes or taking care of our psychological and physical health in meaningful and important, significant ways, while really we're just engaging more in this form of deception, and in particular self-deception that comes at the expense of our own well-being and contributes to greater ill well-being in these state-like experiences in very situated circumstances and in the long term, producing increased risk for various dysfunctions, disorders, and illnesses through increasing things like psychological distress, the experienced heightened frequency of negative perceptions, negative motivations, negative emotions, negative feelings, negative actions, negative behaviors, negative thoughts or ideas, and negative meaning as well, while regulating and increasing optimal or positive perceptions, motivations, emotions, feelings, actions, thoughts, ideas, and behaviors. So when we go about approaching wellness, it can be overwhelming, but when we sit down and we engage more in this planning and this thinking, we start to exercise and organize our mind in a way that can make that more manageable and make us more likely to be able to accomplish and get more from what we intend to do with our self-directed wellness pursuits, and expand our wellness repertoires in doing so too, the more consistent that we are, as well as to develop intermittent patterns instead of just giving up on certain wellness practices, and allowing us to pick ourselves back up when we drop one or two, and develop a greater cognizance for ourselves in regards to what we're already doing well, and what we're doing well in regards to our own well-being, and that support our well-being directly, such as getting proper physical exercise and activity throughout the course of a week, getting proper rest and relaxation time to recharge, getting some learning in that's improving and enriching our knowledge base, as well as our meaningful processes and meaning systems, expanding our skill sets and developing ourselves in important ways that we want to develop and that are aligned with our direction in life, as well as, proper rest and nutrition. Nutrition is important too, to fuel the body and make sure that we're getting everything the body needs in terms of its resources, and regulating various resources within the body and outside the body, and being able, more equipped to address various demands that require us to metabolize those resources and really exert various degrees of effort that's made much more efficient and easier when we have higher levels of energy that are sustained through engaging in the basic universal wellness practices, but also and particularly the wellness practices that have a meaningful and significant impact in regards to the self and doing what's important to us as individuals alongside these universals. So planning is very, very important for increasing the likelihood of doing that, and how we can go about doing this is there's various time frames we can think about that. We can build consistency really easily at the start of the day by just going through brainstorming or writing a list. And when you create a checklist too, this adds an element of progress tracking, which is very, very important, and is a wellness intervention in and of itself that can enhance the likelihood of not just achieving other wellness interventions, but experiencing a more positive self in relation to achieving that through increasing the effectiveness and positivity behind various perceptions, motivations, emotions, feelings, actions, and behaviors. Really reinforcing that and forming a system of reward that's associated with getting those accomplishments off your list and checking them off, and meeting priorities that you set for yourself, and moving alongside a direction that you're not just thinking about, that you're actually tracking, and that you're becoming more conscious of and cognizant of, and that you're really integrating more into your situated self, and then even yourself and potentially your personality structure. And that can confer a lot of positive benefits to our well-being that optimizes it, essentially. And then there's also the method where you can go down one day, sit down, write a list, or think about it in terms of you have one day where you're dedicated, or maybe you do it every other day, or weekly, or monthly, or quarterly. There's different ways you can think about it, but just do an overarching wellness plan, and then eventually you might want to fill out the individual points, and you can elaborate in any which way you like. And that gives you a good base structure to develop wellness planning and think about how you can approach it on not just a daily basis, on a day-to-day basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a yearly basis, and throughout your lifetime. And that really tends to support the basis and longevity, as well as the sustainability of one's wellness infrastructure. So that's all I wanted to say for this video, and I hope you enjoyed that. So bye for now. Bye.